Good evening and welcome to the San Bruno City Council regular meeting for the December 13th, 2022. The meeting has been called to order. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Hamilton,
Here.
Councilmember Marty Medina,
Here.
Councilmember Salazar,
Here.
Vice Mayor Mason,
Here.
Mayor Rico Medina.
Here. Now, item number 3, Pledge of Allegiance, and Councilmember Hamilton, I appreciate. Thank you if you could lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we'll move on to item 4, public comments for items not on the agenda. Are there any members here in the audience that wish to speak on items not on the agenda? Any members in Zoom?
We have one hand raised.
All
I will
right.
now bring in Tim.
For items not on the agenda. Okay, thank you.
Tim, whenever you're ready, you may begin.
Hi, good evening. It's Raina. Actually, I was wondering, I don't know if this is on the agenda, but I just wanted to say thank you so much. I want to thank Linda Mason for, I know this will be her last council meeting, and I want to basically thank her for all her hard work and dedication that she had put during the time that she was our city council member. And Linda, thank you so much for doing everything that you have done. And yeah, we need more folks like you to be part of San Bruno City Council member. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any other speakers? City Clerk?
No other hands are raised.
Thank you. We'll move on to item number 5, announcements and presentations. First one is item A. There is no regular city council meeting on the 4th Tuesday in December of this month. The next regular city council, therefore, will be held on January 10th, 2023 at 7 p.m. Next, proclamation recognizing School Safety Enhancement Day as June 30th, 2023. And I would ask our fire chief if you could come and give us a little information and background on this, please.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the council. Ari DeLay, your fire chief. Thank you for having me here this evening. Just briefly, for the announcement and the proclamation, our local police department here in San Bruno and our San Bruno Fire Department have partnered with the San Bruno Park School District to provide a school safety day. Typically, we do kind of one-offs where we help schools when the need arises, and we'll work together and collaboratively with the school district on an individual basis. But when we started discussing it with the superintendent, Matt Duffy from the school district, it really became apparent there was an opportunity to provide a really a great day of training for the school staff in partnership with our police and fire departments. So we've planned that day at the end of January where we partner with the school district, our firefighters, our police department, and American Medical Response, our ambulance provider for the county, are working for an entire day of training for our school staff. And truly, I think it's an opportunity for, in the schools when there is an emergency, they're typically the first responders, right? When they're there in close contact with the children and have the opportunity to make some really key decisions, and some life-saving techniques can be utilized during an emergency. So we're using that opportunity that entire day to train their staff and work and integrate with our staff from the public safety agencies here at the fire and police department. So I can't say enough. Matt Duffy, our superintendent for the school district, has been a great partner in planning. We've worked to get the day organized, and it's going to be a really, honestly, a jam-packed day full of training for the entire staff for the school district. So that said, I'd turn it back over to Mayor Medina.
Thank you, and if you just stand by
Absolutely.
there. And there is a proclamation. It's going to be recognizing School Safety Enhancement Day, and I'll read a couple of whereases. Whereas effective prevention and response strategies are the shared responsibility of school staff, first responders, and students. And whereas the San Bruno Park School District has partnered with the San Bruno Police and Fire Departments to establish a joint training day focused on enhancing their shared prevention and response capabilities. And whereas this joint training day has been designated as January the 30th, 2023, now therefore be it resolved that I, Rico E. Medina, Mayor of the City of San Bruno, do hereby proclaim January 30th, 2023 as School Safety Enhancement Day, and wish to convey its support and appreciation for the members of the San Bruno Park School District and the San Bruno Police and Fire Departments for their ongoing commitment to keeping our children safe in our schools. And I know this is not the first time. We had a grant that we had it training with police and fire, collaborating at Parkside, at CAP, at City Hall. I know that also the county in itself had a drill for the county over at Mills that I've attended all of those. It's a sad time that we have to be realistic about the times we live in and the importance for us all to be working together as a team and as a community. And so I do want to thank both our police and fire departments for working collaboratively with the school district, and I will present this to our fire chief.
And just in closing, I would like to just say that this, I didn't get a chance to explain all the things we're going to do. We're going to teach the teachers and the staff from the school district CPR and the use of AEDs, they're the defibrillators, Narcan administration. Also, we're going to go ahead and teach them Stop the Bleed training as well. And the police department is going to work on the Big Five program. So those things are, the combined effort is going to take the entire day process through the entire staff. So I want to thank the council, obviously, for the continued support and the school district for their work. So it's great collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief DeLay, and thank you to Chief Johansson and both your departments. Next, we will receive an update on the water and wastewater rate study from Director Lee, please.
Good evening, Mayor Medina, members of council. My name is Matt Lee. I'm the Public Works Director for the City of San Bruno. I'm here to provide some background and a quick announcement on the water and sewer rate study. City Council has always strived for a strong financial stewardship of its water and sewer enterprises by adopting gradual rate increases to support operating and capital needs. On May 23, 2017, Council approved the last 5-year rate structure with an increase of 5% per year. On February 9th, 2021, Council canceled the last rate increase for the fiscal year 21-22 as a result of the pandemic and other factors. The city is currently undergoing the water rate study for the next 5 years, and I am happy to announce that there are no rate increases proposed for the current fiscal year. Staff will return to council at the beginning of next year to provide a presentation on the rate analysis for consideration. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much for the update. Is there any members of the public that wish to speak on any of the announcements or presentations?
I have no in-person speaker cards and no hands are raised remotely.
Thank you. That'll move us on to item 6, consent calendar. All items are considered routine or implemented by an earlier council action and may be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion unless requested. There will be one single public comment period for all items on this section unless a council member had requested to pull an item for a separate vote. And before we get in further, I will turn it over to Council Member Hamilton.
Thank you. So for when we get to the voting on the council calendar, please note that I will not be voting on item M as in Mary, nor N as in Nancy, as I am recused from that topic.
Thank you for letting us know that. Are there any colleagues that wish to pull an item for a separate vote?
Through the mayor.
Vice Mayor.
Item L, please.
L for a separate vote. Any other items, council members? No other items to pull for separate vote. With that, are there any items for discussion or comments?
Through the mayor.
Yes.
I,
Vice Mayor.
please.
Aye.
And M, please.
M? Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else from colleagues? First, we'll start with the item, you said I, adopt, right?
For separate vote?
Huh?
For separate vote?
No, just for comments?
Oh, yeah.
I was adopt a resolution of the City Council of the City of San Bruno approving and finalizing the draft of the City Council policies and procedures. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the council and staff. We've had, I actually lost track of how many meetings we've had around the city council policies and procedures, but I think it's fitting that tonight we're kind of closing this session out with an approval. And we're going to be probably one of, I don't want to say many, but I would hope one of the leaders in the community to actually draft policies and procedures that the council can follow that maybe other cities will look at as a model. So I really look forward to seeing these in practice. I think it'll minimize a lot of the confusion that is a newer council member I had, but I'm sure other council members will have in the years to come. So thank you so much for all the time spent on this document.
Any other questions or comments from, thank you very much, City Manager, which we do have a copy of before us.
Thank you. Just on the record, I want to note that earlier today, staff did submit changes to the document that staff developed based on suggestions from Mayor Rico Medina, and you have them in front of you, and they've been provided and posted, and they are changes to Section 9C6 to clarify changes to Section 9C7, just simply changing the title, noting that it refers to how a council member may abstain or recuse from consent items. And Section 9C8, covering actually a process we just went through, how council members may request for clarifying questions or comments on consent calendar items or move them to the conduct of business section. And then Section 9C13 was eliminated because it was incorporated into a prior Section 9C6.
I am going to move, which, as Councilmember Hamilton said, he is recused, but because we're now going to have a discussion or some talk, he will be departing the dais, and that is M, and that is adopt a resolution initiating a future general plan amendment relating to playing fields and associated improvements to the former Crestmore High School site at 300 Princeton Avenue. Vice Mayor.
If you like me.
Oh, Piedmont Avenue. Thank you, Marty.
I just wanted to make comment that I'm looking forward to this future general plan amendment. I also just want to say thank you to all the parties that have been working towards comings that we all serve. Oftentimes, as we saw with one of our neighboring properties, it was very much of a, this is our land, that's your land, and we're just going to focus on our responsibilities, although ultimately we serve all of the same people. So I just want to say that I really appreciate the work that's being done to ensure that our community here in San Bruno and South City, the 1,000 plus kids from AYSO who use the fields, are going to be able to continue using the fields in the future. And through plans like this, we're ensuring that this is going to happen to perpetuity. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from colleagues? Can we have Councilmember Hamilton take the walk back? So with that, why don't, since we had one item pulled for a separate vote, for consent items other than I, are there any members of the public that wish to speak on that before action is potentially taken by council?
No hands are raised.
Thank you. With that, I'll bring it back to council for any action on items A through O, with the exception of, obviously, I, with the notation that there is a recusal from Councilmember Hamilton for M and N.
I'll move to approve as just stated by the mayor.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion Hamilton, seconded by the Vice Mayor. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? 5-0, unanimous, passed. Now we'll move on to item I, under consent. Adopt resolution approving the San Bruno Community Foundation officers for 2023. Vice Mayor.
I'm just asking for a separate vote. I think this has been kind of an ongoing issue around questions raised regarding the community foundation and what the council's role is. The being or not approving the budget, we learned that it didn't matter whether we approved or didn't approve the budget, it would just continue on. And so this kind of goes in that line of, it's a significant amount of money for a foundation, and I'm just uncomfortable making an approval of this without, that may just be ceremonial, but that oversees so much money. So I'd just like to ask for a separate vote.
I understood, but just for clarity, this is only for the officers that is being brought before. It's not about the budget or the expenditures. I just want to make sure.
Oh, I'm clear on that, but
Oh, no,
I'm
not-
trying
but
to.
the way you said, it might have been given the impression the way I heard.
Oh, yeah. No, I think what I'm trying to say is that it appears that these are pretty significant decisions that are ultimately ceremonial in nature, and we're really essentially saying this is, we're in agreement.
I wanted to clarify just for the members of the public, and stand noted, as was brought up, is that it is 6L. L is in Larry, not I. Rico needs to go no, it's Rico, and he needs to maybe get his eyes checked in the new year. Okay, is there any comments or questions from any of the colleagues on that item? Are there any members of the public?
I have no speaker cards and no hands are raised remotely.
We will bring it back to the council for any action, please, on item L.
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Motion Salazar, seconded by Marty Medina. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
We have 4 ayes, 1 abstention. That will conclude consent. We'll move on to conduct of business.
Item 7A, 1, receive progress report on fiscal year 2022 to 23, City Council strategic initiatives, facilities needs, and fiscal condition assessment for the next phase of San Bruno's comprehensive fiscal sustainability project.
Thank you very much. City Manager.
Good afternoon, Mayor Medina, members of the City Council, and viewing public both here and at home. Javon Grogan, City Manager. It is my pleasure to present to you and support your discussion tonight with regard to the topic of an update on the City Council's strategic initiatives for 22-23, as well as to discuss the city staff's recommendation that the city conduct and provide funding for a citywide facility needs analysis and fiscal condition assessment. And as we click through our slides, that's our objective, is to have that discussion and provide you with your update on priority focus areas and initiatives, and the recommendation I'll read. Adopt a resolution authorizing the appropriation of funds from the general fund in an amount not to exceed $100,000 for a citywide facility needs and financial condition assessment for the next phase of San Bruno's fiscal sustainability project. So our agenda for the presentation is we'll provide a background. We will provide a high-level update on your strategic initiatives. We will discuss the comprehensive fiscal sustainability initiative, really fitting that we're talking about that tonight, as this is the last night that the 5 council members that have worked on these for quite some time. And so I'd like to provide a overview of accomplishments, ongoing initiatives, as well as recommended next steps, and then talk about the action that we just briefly touched on. And I know City Council knows this well because you set these directives, but just want to highlight, because we really started what we invented as a strategic initiative process in fiscal year 18-19, and it really has evolved. But at its core, it was a way for the city council to coalesce around a set of goals and initiative, and a way for staff to organize them, accomplish them, or work on them, report our progress. And so we started in 18-19 with a simple list of priorities and no identified initiatives. We then developed a very comprehensive 100-page document that had priority focus initiative areas, but also 103 individual initiatives. We realized that that was a little too comprehensive and too detailed, and we scaled it back, and council really provided direction to scale that back and remove all CIP projects or anything that was a part of normal operations. And in 21-22, you further refined your process and created priority categories and prioritized each initiative at a high level. And then in 23-24, you really confirmed the process that you had developed over the prior 4 years and added 3 new initiatives. And just let's talk briefly about what is a priority focus area. First, it is a particular area of organizational focus for the government, for San Bruno's government, as defined by the City Council on an annual basis. Next, it's important to note that these focus areas can and do change over time based on the interest, needs, and resources really defined by the City Council. Next, it's also important to note that they're not in any order of priority. All of these have equal footing and are priority focus areas that you're saying, as the elected leaders of this community, the organization should have a particular focus on. Next, we have what we call strategic initiatives, and these are really specific efforts that really underpin and support each priority focus area, and they must align to one or more priority focus area. Next, it's important to note that they require a work effort above the norm, so above normal operations and capital maintenance. They often are at a level in the organization where they require direct leadership or guidance from the city manager or a department director. And some initiatives cannot be accomplished within 1 year. And so by their very nature, many of these are multi-year efforts, big projects, oftentimes interdepartmental, that we recognize from the outset may take some time to accomplish. So what are your priority focus areas? There are 7, and they're listed there, and they're repeated throughout the document. So I won't take time now to read through each individual one because we will be touching on them shortly. Next, I just wanted to highlight that in your 22-23 priority setting process, you added 3 initiatives. The first one was a community perception survey, and really your directive was to work on developing and implementing a community perception survey that will really gauge the community's satisfaction, interests, desires, recommended changes to all of our programs and services. Next, you wanted us to take a look at the San Bruno sign or the archway that was envisioned above the Caltrain station and develop a plan to beautify the location where that archway previously was supposed to be. And we know that that is at our Caltrain station near the intersection of San Bruno Avenue and San Mateo Avenue. There was a typo in the staff report where items 1 and 2 had a repeated title. But number 3 was to support a relaunch of the Chamber of Commerce. And as many of us know, the San Bruno Chamber is in an effort of redefining and really needs to embark on a rebuilding process. And what the City Council said is you would like the city to help with that effort and to look into providing consultant funding to help reactivate the chamber. So at a high level, there are currently 46 initiatives. 26 of those are active projects that we're working on, so that's 57%. 2 of them will start later this fiscal year, so in what we call the 3rd and 4th quarter of our fiscal year, but between January and June. 11 are unlikely to start, and we know when we talk about these initiatives that they're bold goals and objectives, and by their very nature, and because many of them are comprehensive, we do not have the staffing and resource capacity to work on all of them, but we want to be very transparent about that, and I think we've accomplished that. And then next, we have completed 7 of them since the start of this fiscal year. And so what I'll go through next is I will not go through each individual initiative. You have a spreadsheet where we talk about those, but certainly if you have any questions at the conclusion of the presentation, open for any questions. But your first category or priority focus area is implement the transit corridor's vision to revitalize downtown and our commercial corridor. And probably important to note that revitalizing downtown for the City Council is not just embedded in your priority focus areas, but it's embedded in a number of our other capital improvement projects that we've been working on. But just to highlight a few, install parking meters downtown, a priority level 3 for the City Council, really a very much ongoing project. You received an update at the last meeting. There was an update in your consent packet for tonight, and we will be returning to the City Council between January and February of next year for full funding of that project. And we're very much looking forward to enhancing our parking enforcement, not just for metered spaces, but also elsewhere in the city. Next is trash receptacles. Won't spend much time on that, but we know that it was a big goal of the city, and we've improved that. And lastly, Posey Park and Centennial Plaza. In your consent items tonight, you approved design funding of a little over $100,000 to continue with the design of Centennial Plaza. Important to note that the foundation recently approved a $500,000 grant for that. Working collaboratively with staff and the council, as well as Posey Park, the council had a direct hand in the city receiving a $200,000 grant for Posey Park, and that's an effort that we now have funding for and will begin to work on. The next priority focus area is assure rehabilitation and replacement of critical community facilities and infrastructure. There are a number of capital improvement projects in this area, many of which we'll talk about a little bit later. But the one I wanted to note is our community fiber update. Recently, the priority number 1, the City Council received an update, and at the direction of the City Council and our auditor, we undertook a very detailed analysis of the CityNet enterprise, and we'll be returning to council with funding plans for continuing with the fiber to home project. The next area is grow city revenues and assure ongoing fiscal stability and economic vitality. Item here, just want to make a brief note, number 9, our comprehensive fiscal sustainability initiative that I'll talk about a little later. But 4 initiatives that the City Council directed for us to make explicit progress on this year was looking into the possibility of a city charter focused on a commercial property transfer tax, moving forward with implementation of short-term rentals, cannabis regulations, and a card room tax. And important to note that we processed through all of those. There were decisions made, for example, not to move forward with a charter city initiative. We did implement the short-term rental ordinance. We have moved forward with cannabis regulations, and we will be coming back in January with council's direction to increase the tax from 5% to 6%. And there was direction not to move forward with a card room tax, but we did renegotiate with Artichoke Joe's for their cost recovery agreement that is bringing an additional $900,000 annually to the city. Next item here is our water and sewer rates study. You had a brief update from the Public Works Director today on our work on that, and this council was very clear in wanting to make sure that we are running a fiscally sound water and sewer enterprise, but also being very judicious in our rate increases. And so there'll be 24 months without rate increases. And we will, as the director said, complete that study and return to you next fiscal year. The next category is continue to strengthen community connections and engagement, very much a focus of the City Council, but just want to highlight a few items here. One is upgrades to Channel 1, now Channel 10 in HD, and hybrid meetings, which we are conducting now, and we're ahead of the curve as the governor plans to change the COVID-19 protocols of only allowing municipalities to have remote meetings. We are now doing hybrid meetings, and we'll continue as directed. Next is 13. We haven't made a lot of progress on this item this year, but I wanted to highlight it because it was extremely important in this category, one of the two extremely important initiatives. And while we have not made progress to date, what we have done through the renegotiation of the Recology contract is provide for the ability for Recology to take on street sweeping services. And we will process through that both with our unions and with the City Council at the first half of next calendar year. But should we ask Recology to take on that service, the cost of expanding citywide can be incorporated into the rates there. And so we are challenged with the ability to expand our street sweeping primarily to the west side of the city without additional resources. But through that renegotiation and subsequent discussions, the City Council will have that option presented before them later on this fiscal year. And the next one is a community perception survey. We have yet to make progress on that to date, but we are planning to allocate the resources at the beginning of next fiscal year to develop that survey and implement it as directed. The next category is protect and improve community aesthetics and safety. And in this category, really want to highlight number 17, and I think the fire chief is right over there, and frankly give him and his entire team credit with making a significant leap forward to protect this community. You cannot understate the amount of work that the fire department and in their prevention division has taken on to address areas in this community that went without significant wildfire mitigation and underbrush clearing and limbing up trees. So if there is a fire, we have a fighting chance to keep a small fire, a fire small. And so I actually remember the fire chief's first day. He joined me and the former city attorney and the mayor in federal court to in our attempt to convert community service hours to money, and we were successful in converting the remaining PG&E community service hours to $3 million that will be used and are being used directly in Crestmore Canyon to prevent wildfires and control brush mitigation. And we also developed, which is 17.2, a citywide program, because while that money could only be used for Crestmore Canyon, we know that the city has significant open space areas that are a significant risk, and we have undertaken a significant effort, as noted in the matrix that you have, to create a 100-foot defensible space area around many of our open space areas, and we'll continue to do so. Next is Clean San Bruno. I think we all noticed during COVID, portions of San Bruno really had an illegal dumping problem that almost went off the chart. And so at the council's direction, we worked with Recology to adopt a pilot program. That program has now been permitized and will be a permanent program in the new franchise agreement, really at the direction of the city council and to significant benefit to the community. Number 20, reduce speed limits near schools to 15 miles per hour and safe routes to schools. Council will remember we recently talked about this at a council meeting. The administrative draft of the safe routes to school plan is out and is scheduled to be presented to the city council in January. And so we will be discussing all of those recommendations in that plan soon, and that is certainly moving forward. The second to last category, as we round out your strategic initiatives, is continue to proactively plan for the future of San Bruno. And here I want to highlight just a few initiatives. The first one is item 21, adopt a affordable housing fund implementation plan. And so we are actively pursuing that highly important initiative. And the good news there connected to our fiscal sustainability is now we have money in our affordable housing fund. We had just under $4 million at the beginning of this fiscal year, and with a recent YouTube payment for their campus expansion, we now have $14 million in that fund. And so we will be working with the city council to allocate those funds because we all know affordable housing is critical for our community. The last one in this category is our economic development program, a key initiative of the council to really establish a true economic development program in San Bruno. We've had a lot of success without a formal program, and so we are continuing to work on this initiative, and I cannot say that we've accomplished it. The council did fund a position. I'm happy to announce that we have recently, as of last week, had interviews for that position and do believe that we will have a viable economic development coordinator starting with us in the new year. Okay, and the last category, as I speed up, is strong governance and organizational health and employee success, really not to be understated. And I want to highlight our communications plan, largely wrapped up in your policies and procedures and other communications provided to the city council, as well as your policies and procedures document that you just approved. But also want to note, I know another key initiative of the city council, and I'm really including 26-2 through 26-4 together under your strong governance initiative. We're looking forward to launching that in 23 and working with our advisory boards and commissions on a initiative to better align those with city council's directives and have a process. So we're looking forward to that. Okay, so that concludes the update. Again, there's a matrix. Next, I just want to give a brief update on your comprehensive fiscal sustainability initiative that we launched in 2018. And really the goal was to develop a comprehensive understanding of the financial pressures affecting the city and constraints on the general fund today and in the future. There were three very simple goals: understand our problem, articulate it, and develop and implement strategies. Important to note that we created a roadmap. You saw this chart in various different forms in 18, 19, and 20, but we created a detailed roadmap and really processed through. And this next slide talks about completed, in progress, and things that are next up. And just quickly, I want to highlight some of those completed initiatives because it is really an impressive list of items that were accomplished at the direction of this city council with initiatives that really began and were led by the council. And so establishing development impact fees, updating our master fee schedule, budgetary controls that you adopted, and expenditure controls that you adopted during the budgeting process, city net business plan, the YouTube community benefit payment of $4.5 million that you allocated to support the construction of the Aquatic and Rec Center, the conversion of PG&E hours to money, the $3 million in fire mitigation, placing an increase of the hotel tax on the ballot, increasing that from 12 to 14%. The additional cost recovery agreement with Artichoke Joe's, an additional $900,000 a year. Adoption of the Bay Hill specific plan and that community benefits agreement that totals $130 million, an important front loading of that money due to the city's fiscal condition. And so we've already received $55 million of that community benefit and specific plan package. Implementation of short-term rentals, $400,000 annually. The sales tax sharing agreement with Walmart.com, $4 million annually. The passage of Measure G, $4 million annually. Cannabis regulations and the tax TBD, we're working on implementing that and the regulations are out. The South Line development just in South San Francisco, but with impacts to San Bruno, you adopted a benefits agreement that will provide $10.6 million of capital project resources to the city of San Bruno, and something weird is going on with the slide. And we expect that payment in early 2013, as well as various grants and, of course, Mills Park, which we will continue to work on. Things that are in progress, CityNet Business Plan 2.0, continuing with the development and entitlement of the crossing site, parking meters, TANFRAN and that community benefit project and program that we launched earlier this year. Citywide fleet study, as well as the sewer and rate study, is ongoing. Next up is really, we need to develop options and proposals for the allocation of the development impact fees and community benefit payments and other one-time capital project funding. We are getting ready to begin community benefit negotiations with Amazon with their plan to reuse the Sky Park parking facility. We will continue to have discussions on a potential ballot initiative in 2024, and then look at next steps for Mills Park. And so with all of that said, staff is recommending that we embark on really a comprehensive assessment of our facility needs and our fiscal condition. The funds that have been received to date are significant. It's $54.5 million from YouTube, $10.6 million expected early next year from Southline, and another $5 billion from the sale of city property. And so that's $70.1 million. But we know that our needs far exceed $300 million, and so we want to embark on a detailed process to provide you with the necessary information for policy setting. And so with that, our recommended action is that you receive the report and you authorize the appropriation of funds from the general fund to really move forward with the next step of the fiscal sustainability project. And thank you, my pleasure to provide you with an update, and thank you for your direction and guidance thus far.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Any questions from colleagues at this time? No? Wow. Councilmember Hamilton?
I always go first, please.
Councilmember Medina?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you, City Manager Grogan. I know that's a lot, but I just wanted to clarify, it seems like more things were done than, was it the 7 things that are noted? Because just alone on 16, the ballot initiatives, those were like 3 things that got done. So, I mean, just wanted to, wasn't really sure which ones you're signaling that are done, right?
Totally.
But my point is that there are a lot of things that continue to work on, and I'm looking forward for the opportunity where we can provide additional guidance on that and having to have a study session on it. So we have plenty of time. Tonight is basically us just receiving the report. So, Mr. Mayor, that's my request and concern.
Any other, Councilmember Hamilton?
Yes, so thank you for the report, and this is a little bit similar to Councilmember Medina's comment. We discussed this a bit during the policies and procedures, but I just want to bring it up again here, given that it's related to the strategic initiative process, and obviously, as was just stated, we're not diving into the initiatives and changing anything tonight, nor am I asking for that. But I just want to make sure that we're diligent when planning out those sessions that we're going to be having, just to make sure, because I've been through the process a couple of times, and it was striking that there was a lot of time spent on presentations and status, and not a lot of time to discuss. And I just want to make sure that we do build in enough time for discussions and potential representing something. And that wouldn't, and number X, staff make sure that we're.
And procedures document, one of the things that we outlined specifically was a detailed study session or set of study sessions in Q1 or Q3, January through calendar. It's likely a special meeting. Your business calendar is frankly booked through March right now, and that's not even looking forward to budget adoption and all those meetings. And so at this point, we're probably looking at a special meeting late February, early March, but carving out the ability to have several so you can really do that deep dive.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions from colleagues at this time? Okay, thank you. Okay, are there any members of the public that wish to comment?
I have no in-person speaker cards and no remote hands are raised.
Thank you. And again, staff, so we received the presentation. Do you need the adoption of the resolution, City Manager? Thank you, sir. With that, I'll bring it back to council for any potential action in regards to the resolution.
Through the mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt item 7A as read by the clerk.
Second.
Motion Hamilton, seconded Councilmember Marty Medina. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Hamilton,
Aye.
Councilmember Marty Medina,
Aye.
Councilmember Salazar,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Mason,
Aye.
Mayor Rico Medina.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0.
The Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, Citizens Crime Prevention, Citizens Revenue Measure Oversight Committee, Emergency Preparedness and Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you. Just so to go over this a little bit, and I'm going to look to Peter just to make sure I've got this. On the vacancy of Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, as we know, we had one opening. There was Mr. Nigel, who I did speak to today, and now knowing that there for either of those individuals to serve in that capacity. On the Citizens Crime Prevention Committee, there were those that have just reapplied for appointment. There on the Citizen Revenue Measure Oversight Committee, the same. The Emergency Preparedness, the same. And on the Planning Commission, there is one vacancy with 3 applicants. Did you okay?
Yes, that's correct.
Good. Is the Emergency Preparedness, which is the Citizen Revenue Measure Oversight Committee and the Citizens Crime Prevention Committee. For those members who have reapplied and are seeking reappointment, I make a motion to go ahead and reappoint.
I second.
Motion, Rico Medina, seconded by Vice Mayor, for those appointments. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Those pass 5-0. Now let's go to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. There were 2 individuals that the clerk's office did reach out to confirm that they didn't get their first selection, but they are willing to serve in this capacity. Are there any nominations from the floor? I'm sorry, in here.
Through the chair,
Councilmember Salazar.
I will nominate Quentin Cutlip.
Quentin Couplet. Is there a second?
I will second that.
There's a second. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any action from the body?
Nope.
So I will go ahead and then let's move to approve for Councilmember Salazar and Hamilton's. Would that be a motion in a second? We'll consider that. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? 5-0. Now we'll move on to the Planning Commission. We have 3 applicants. Nominations?
Through the mayor, I would like to nominate,
Hamilton, sorry.
I would like to nominate Tom Kuhn.
Second.
Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations at this time?
I'll nominate Stephen Marshall.
I'll go ahead and second. Any other nominations? Okay. So why don't we see on Tom, the first one, not you, Tom, the other Tom. Is there action on that? Let's take that first, since that was the first nomination.
Action in terms of
An
vote.
appointment.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion to appoint Tom Kuhn.
Is there a second?
Through the chair.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna, I was gonna second the motion and state I was very impressed with Mr. Kuhn. I nominated him the previous go-around, and I am in favor of moving him forward.
For the record, certainly. Thank you. Second, all those in favor, Mr. Kuhn, say aye, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we have gone through the appointment process. City Clerk, are we good?
Yes.
Thank you kindly. Thank you for your help for all the process and that.
Through the
Now-
chair?
Oh, I'm sorry.
And I know this, we say this, we say all the time, but I did want to restate that we were very impressed with all of, I think it's unanimous, we were impressed with all of the candidates. I was very pleased to see our other openings in the future. Thank you.
Well said, and thank you very much. Next, we'll move on to item C, please.
Item 7C, introduce, read by title only, and waive further reading of an ordinance adding Chapter 2.33 to the San Bruno Municipal Code adopting local contribution limits for city council elections. I will now share my screen, just one moment.
Thank you very much. And we will turn that, when ready, over to the city manager, please.
Good evening, Mayor Medina, members of the City Council and the public. Tech issues are always lovely. I am here tonight again to introduce our next item, local contribution or local campaign contribution limits. And I will be joined shortly by City Attorney Teresa Ortiz. Try and go to the next slide. Let's see. Not working. Let me try. Not working. Let us work out our technical issues. All right, so why don't I begin and the slides will catch up. So our agenda on the next slide to provide a little background and overview of local campaign finance regulations. We will talk about the proposed ordinance and then finally the recommended action that is before you tonight. Next slide talks about background. So important to note that on March 29th, the City Council held a study session to consider various potential ballot measures for the November 22 ballot. Among those measures was a potential ballot measure related to contribution limits for local campaigns only here in the city of San Bruno. So the city of San Bruno has the ability to regulate campaign contribution limits from individuals or corporations for your local elected positions. At that study session, you reviewed local campaign finance regulations that are in effect within the county. And then at the end of that, you provided very, very clear direction. You directed staff not to proceed with a ballot measure, but instead return to you with an ordinance where the city council could adopt and establish local campaign contribution limits. State law provides that many things can be adopted by voters or adopted directly by the city council. And you decided that the most expeditious manner, and because you were essentially imposing regulations on the city council, and you are the city council, that it would be appropriate to adopt that ordinance directly. And so now we'll turn to a little bit of the statutory background, and I will now turn it over to the city attorney.
Good evening, Mayor Medina and City Council members. Tricia Ortiz, your city attorney, and I'm here to go over the provisions of the campaign contribution limit ordinance that we came back with at your direction. A little bit of background about the state law here. In 2019, the legislature adopted a bill to set default campaign contributions in an amount that is equal to limits applicable to certain state offices. That amount is set for 2-year timeframes, and then it adjusts biennially. For the years 2021 and 22, the amount is $4,900 per person per election. Okay, so then here is the chart of local campaign finance regulations that you reviewed back in March. It shows that of, I believe, 21 jurisdictions, approximately 7 have local limits, and it's just a summary of what those limits are. And based on your review at that time, you gave direction to come back with a local ordinance, which is what we have before you tonight. And now I'm going to go over this, provide you a summary of what's in your ordinance. First of all, the ordinance provides a contribution limit of $500 per person, and a person is defined under law to include both individuals and entities. The limit does not apply to contribution from one's own funds to their own campaign. And in every solicitation for a campaign contribution, the ordinance specifies a notice that you are to provide in that solicitation. The ordinance also prohibits anonymous contributions. It does not apply to campaigns for a ballot measure, referendum, or initiative election. And finally, it requires electronic filing of campaign statements. So the ordinance provides a wide range of different methods to enforce the limits. There are penalties. Violations are punishable as an infraction with a fine not to exceed $250. They can be punished as a misdemeanor, which is punishable by up to 6 months in jail and a fine of $1,000. It can be enforced through administrative fines. The ordinance also allows the city to bring a civil suit to enforce the ordinance, or the city may refer the violations to the DA or the FPPC. And finally, we've added a private right of action so that voters can also bring a civil suit to enforce the provisions of the ordinance. So that is a summary of the key provisions of the proposed ordinance to limit campaign contributions locally in San Bruno. And if you want to establish those limits, the motion would be to introduce, read by title only, and waive further reading of an ordinance adding Chapter 2.33 to the San Bruno Municipal Code, adopting local campaign contribution limits. And I'm happy to answer any questions about the ordinance.
Thank you very much for your report. Any questions from colleagues on the report? Vice Mayor.
The Mayor, thank you. I just wanted to ask whether there's any changes for clarification on the reporting requirements.
So the ordinance, Vice Mayor Mason, the ordinance kind of layers over existing regulations in the Political Reform Act. And one of those is the existing reporting requirements are not changed. So the threshold of $100 for reporting is not changed by this ordinance. What it does is simply cap the amount that a person can receive from a candidate can receive from a campaign. There is one exception that I've noted in the staff report. Several of the provisions in AB 571 bring over by default state limits or provisions to the local campaign area. And by adopting this ordinance, there is authority in AB 571 which allows a candidate to roll over campaign contributions from one election to the next. This ordinance does not include that. So there, with the adoption of this ordinance, there would not be the ability to roll over contributions from one election to the next. But otherwise, it layers over on top of existing regulations in the Political Reform Act.
Thank you. And then my other question was whether you were looking for a decision at this time also that identifies the same amount for both the individual contributions and corporate contributions.
So as the ordinance is drafted, it provides a single limit to any contribution, whether, because a person includes both an individual and an entity. So it's a contribution from a person, and there's just one limit. It's set at $500, but it could be set at any amount that the city council deems appropriate.
And just basing it on the memo that you had sent out. So my preference is to keep it at 500. Thank you.
Any other questions on the report? Seeing, Councilmember Hamilton.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't have any questions. I have comments before we vote, but so I'll save them.
Councilmember Salazar?
So just a clarification on the reporting. So currently, any contributions above a certain dollar amount or below a certain dollar amount can be anonymous. So we're saying in this ordinance that every contribution, even if it's $1, would require somebody to provide the standard information about name, occupation, and all of those required pieces of information.
Correct, but there is, so you wouldn't have anonymous donations. However, the existing threshold for when you have to report something on the form is $100. So you would have to, I think, for your own internal record-keeping purposes, know who the contribution came from to comply with the ordinance. But that wouldn't be reported if it was an amount under $100 under the existing provisions in the Political Reform Act.
Okay. So it's interesting that we would ask people to comply with that, but then have no reporting on it. I think that's confusing because typically, I mean, when you have the form from the state, it says very specifically what you're supposed to put on it. So now there's this additional piece of information that a candidate would have to know, and I'm clear, and they would probably know who their contributions are coming from. But what do you do with that information? You just keep a spreadsheet in your top drawer and hope nobody asks. It may be confusing to people to have two sets of rules.
So I think that Councilmember Salazar, I see it as one set of rules, but there is, of what's required when you're maintaining the account for a campaign. And then you have the FPPC regulations about when something needs to be reported to the FPPC on the form required by the FPPC.
If I may on this subject.
Hold on. Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure everybody's done. Vice Mayor.
So through the mayor, since it is the first reading, I would just recommend that we align ourselves with what the current rules are, just to be clear before the next reading. And then just per our discussion, I had the same concern. And as I understand it, at the $25 mark, there has to be an internal reporting, like you just said. But the $0 to the $25 mark, there doesn't appear to be any requirements. So for council or for school board or whatever it might be, and it could be a little onersome to be documenting every little thing, every dollar that comes in that's under $25, for example.
Well, so Vice Mayor Mason, let me make sure I'm clear on the direction here. The $25 amount, I believe, was just a tip I don't think it's not an actual reporting rule in your form. And are you saying that you want, for any amount that's underneath that reporting amount, you want your ordinance to not require the candidate to collect the information about the contribution?
No, I think, and I don't want to speak for Councilman Salazar, but I think we're in agreement on this, that we
Concurrence on that as well.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Medina.
Yeah, I also agree with that. There's no reason to go further than with the FPPC, but you don't have to report the name of the person. And it is up to all of the candidates to keep track of that, so that if it is named, so there's no additional requirement.
So Mayor could make changes tonight to reflect exactly what the FPPC requires. The guidance you're giving tonight aligns with the FPPC regulations. Or
Yes, okay. I'm getting the yeses. So with that, what would you want us to take, continue to, or just you'd bring it back to us?
yeah, unless staff.
Thank you, Mayor. I would recommend that there be a discussion on the amount of the limit. Right now, staff has put in $500 because we are recommending one limit, not two, which some cities have. And so if the city council is comfortable with 5, or if you would like, when we bring it back to you, to have a different limit, I think that direction would be appropriate to provide tonight.
Thank you. So on the first item, I think that's clear. Now it's just about the amount. Is it 500, is it 750, is it, whatever. Go ahead. No, I can see.
Yeah, no, you're looking at me. I just wanted to make sure it's okay for me to go.
Probably address 99% of all donations I've ever seen made, so that's fine.
Okay, I think you have, yes, on that. So got direction on both, we're good, so there is no vote or action on that item.
Thank you very much.
I'll
But you know what?
save my comment for when we actually do the first reading. I also was going to make just a quick comment saying that it's nice to be able to address you as city attorney without the interim, and thank you.
Thank you very much,
so-
Councilmember Hamilton. It's my honor and privilege. Thank you.
So you'll save your comments for 2023.
I will.
But let's see if there's any members of the public that did want to speak, since we did have this on the agenda, please. But there is not going to be any action at this time.
I have no speaker cards and no remote hands are raised.
Okay. With that, the next item will be. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Medina. I just wanted to make a comment since I won't be at the next meeting as a council member. Just for members of the public who might be watching this at home or present, this item came to us on the foot of the 2019 election that I was a part of. And I had done a public records request on the last 10 years of elections here in San Bruno. And in that public records request, it turned out that nobody had really ever. And when we look at the contribution limits, we really need to look at what's happening in the city. It was clear at that time, and still is clear, has actually become more evident than ever with the reimagining of Tan Fran, with the Crestmore building that's occurring, with the Engvall building that's occurring, with Mills Park. That development is upon San Bruno. So when you look at an election that traditionally hasn't gone more than $5,000 to $7,000, and one candidate is spending $100,000 to really be dictated in that way. So to really put it short, whether we would like elections purchased and whether we want candidates to feel in some way indebted to individuals or companies that contribute to their campaigns in a city the size of San Bruno. So in 2020, when I brought this up, it didn't receive enough support to move forward. And I want to just take a moment to really thank this council who unanimously supported this initiative when it came back, and hopefully realizes the importance of limiting contributions, because elections should not be purchased. And we really need to ensure that we're electing independent thinkers who are looking out for the best interests of the San Bruno community. So thank you for that.
Okay. Thank you. And if I remember, there was no members of the public, correct? Okay. Let's make sure we're back and ready to go at promptly 8:30. We'll stand in recess for 15 minutes, please. All right, everybody got real quiet, so I guess that means I should begin. Well, we'll go ahead and reconvene the San Bruno City Council meeting. We are under conduct of business, and we will move to item D.
Item 7D, adopt a resolution declaring the results of the general municipal election for the City of San Bruno held on November 8th, 2022, as provided by law. I will now share my screen.
I'm going to have the city clerk give a short presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, and the public. I'm Lupita Huerta, the City of San Bruno City Clerk. On June 14th, 2022, the City Council adopted Resolution Number 2022-55, calling a general municipal election for the offices of Mayor and a council member for District 1 and 4, respectively. On August 3rd, 2022, the City Council adopted Resolution Number 2022-80, submitting to the voters a measure to adopt an ordinance establishing term limits for the offices of Mayor and City Council. As you know, the general municipal election was held on Tuesday, November 8th, 2022, and the result of said election are Rico E. Medina, elected as mayor for the full term of 2 years, Sandy Alvarez, elected as City Council member for District 1 for the full term of 4 years, and Marty P. Medina was elected for City Council member for District 4 for the full term of 4 years. We also had one measure on the ballot, Measure BB, which was a measure adopting an ordinance establishing term limits on the City Council to consecutive terms of no more than 12 consecutive years, or as mayor to consecutive terms of no more than 12 years, was approved by the voters with a majority vote. Our recommendation to you today is to adopt the resolution declaring the results of the general municipal election for the City of San Bruno held on November 8th, 2022, as provided by law. Thank you.
Thank you for the report. I'm going to kind of skip. Does anybody have questions? I think it's kind of straightforward from colleagues. What I would want to do at this time, though, obviously, for Vice Mayor Linda Mason, will be concluding as Vice Mayor and on the City Council this evening. What I would like to do is present on behalf of the council. I know they don't always allow me to say that, but on behalf of the council and myself and the city, this gift for you in thanks and appreciation for your time, your dedication, your passion, and and your vigor. And so please accept that from us.
Thank you. Do you want me to?
It's up to you.
I'll wait.
Okay. I would do the same. What I also want to do at this time is there are some individuals that are here in the audience, so I want to be able to bring them forward. They've been very patient that have been here. So we have Katrina from Congresswoman Spears' office.
Good evening, Mayor Medina, members of the council, members of the staff. It's my great honor to be here tonight on behalf of Congresswoman Spear for her last round of reorganizational meetings. As many of you may know, the Congresswoman whole history of Congress. So if your kids or your grandkids are going to look up, Linda's not going to read the entire thing, but let me please read a few excerpts. Madam Speaker, I rise to recognize Linda Martine Mason, who served on the San Bruno City Council for 3 years, the last one as vice mayor. The timing of her term as candidate could possibly foreseen. Linda, her council colleagues, and city staff rose to the occasion and found ways to keep San Bruno residents as safe as possible and to assist small businesses through these difficult times. The challenges of the pandemic played out in the Mason household. Linda, as general counsel and chief people officer at the Housing Authority of the City and County of San Francisco, San Bruno Park School District Board of Trustees. Linda and Andrew have 2 young who was working remotely or from the office, while also caring for their children whose daycare had been closed due to the pandemic, was a big debt of gratitude for their unwavering service. Madam Speaker, I ask my colleagues in the House of Representatives to constituents in my congressional district. I have no doubt.
Katrina, as well as thank you for all that you have done for the city of San Bruno through the Congresswoman's for a paycheck or for a job, but it goes deeper than that. And you truly, truly have really been there for our city through some challenging times and prosperous times.
Dave Pine, who wanted to try to be here tonight and make all the reorg meetings, but timing didn't work out. But he did want for being an exemplary leader and a voice for the residents of the city. I know that, and I wanted to also congratulate you on your many accomplishments. Measure K district discretionary funds for that. I had the pleasure of doing some work on that, and it was very gratifying, even though I through that area to see work is being done on it. So on behalf of Supervisor Pine and the entire dedication to this city.
From our state senator from the 13th district, Josh Becker, which is a Senate Certificate of Recognition, which is presented to Linda Mason for the city of San Bruno in appreciation of your years of service and its residents. On behalf of the people of the state of California's 24th Assembly District and 13th Senate District, please accept our gratitude for your good work and sincere best wishes in the future on this day, the 13th day of December of 2022. And also, I do want to acknowledge that we have a fellow colleague from the city of Pacifica, Vice Mayor Tiger, who we believe Thursday will be the incoming mayor, but we take nothing for granted. But thank you for making your personal visit. Also, we have some school electeds that are here. We obviously know Andy Mason is here. And thank you, there you go. I couldn't see. Who else do we have? Why don't you go ahead and introduce? Terry, say it. Say you. Please rise and say your name. We did this at the. Sworn in on this Thursday for the San Mateo Union High School District. Thank you. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you. Newly elected San Bruno School District. Raymond Justi, Sandburg Park School District, Area 5, which is roughly Marty Medina's district, the east side of San Bruno. I'll be sworn in tomorrow night.
Thank you, Raymond, and thank you, Terry. And again, Andy, please, I mean, you've had service, and please introduce yourself, even though we kind of know.
So December 7th was my last meeting as a school board trustee. I'd like to thank the city of San Bruno, its residents, and its schools. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Andy. Because we know those that seek office, those that serve office, it's a lot of work, and it's a lot of dedication. And so thank you very much. With that, I want to give an opportunity at this time, because this is going to be an action item, but we have a couple more things to do. But as far as if there's any speaker cards or Zoom members or wish to speak at this time on this topic, which is an action item.
I do not have any in-person speaker cards, but I do have one remote hand raised. Sandy Perez Vargas. Sandy, whenever you're ready, you may begin. Sandra?
Okay, yeah, this is Stephen Seymour, and then Sandra will also speak. But I just want to say that we're so proud of Linda and her accomplishments for our city. She has definitely raised the bar as far as we're concerned. She's asked questions, some of them difficult, but we also think that's what our elected officials are expected to do. And she has really pressed and pushed our city to bring things that improve everything for the residents of our city. And so we're proud to have supported Linda. We're sorry that Linda is leaving the council. And we'd like to see her come back at some point. And, you know, whether it's, I mean, 2 years from now, she could come back, or she could run again. But we're very proud to have supported Linda Mason for the position that she serves. And we think the city is better for it. And I think Sandra might have a couple of words.
Hi, this is Sandra Perez Vargas. I wanted to thank Linda also. I'm so grateful for everything you've put into trying to improve our city. And you made a lot of headway. You asked a lot of questions that people didn't want to ask before. You looked at contracts that hadn't been looked at for decades. So I think you made some people uncomfortable for a while, but there was a good reason for it. So thank you so much. And we know we have not seen the last of you, Linda. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you both for your comments. Any additional speakers?
No other hands are raised.
Okay. At this time, I would like to offer any comments that the colleagues up here would like to make. Councilmember Hamilton.
Through the mayor. I didn't prepare anything because I thought I might tear up. I still might. As has been said tonight, you know, public service is not easy. It's certainly not done for any other reason except to try to make one's community better, and that's the lens that you brought to every decision and every action that you've taken. I know that your journey here on council has not always been a smooth one. Year one was particularly difficult, and it'd be, you know, with COVID and for all other kinds of reasons. And I've been proud, very, very proud, to be able to serve with you in years 2 and 3. And we've got a lot accomplished together. And I really, truly thank you for your hard work and your dedication and your friendship. And I'm glad that that's going to endure. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Medina.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you and to your family, because I know what a burden it is to serve on the council with children. You have 2. I used to have 1. We were unfortunate to only have a 3-year term, and in that we had COVID. Yet, despite all of that, I am proud to have served with you, and I know we've made San Bruno better. So thank you.
Councilmember Salazar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's not much more I can say that hasn't already been said, and just listening to Katrina read Jackie's words, and Jackie always knows just what to say, but she covered everything that I could have thought of, and I don't think, well, only a few of us know how hard this job really is. And in spite of having a short 3-year term and having COVID fall right smack on top of your term, you know, I know that as a parent, it was challenging. These were challenging times. And having Andy also serving at the same time, I can't imagine how just frustrating and challenging that whole experience must have been. But You faced it with grace. You always showed up prepared to meetings. We didn't always agree on every topic, but when we did agree, I was proud to have you on my side, and I could always count on you to be steadfast in your vote. And so I do appreciate everything that you've done for the city. So thank you for your service.
Thank you, Mike. Councilman Sullivan. And then, finally, Linda, as we were talking today, earlier this afternoon, I said, hopefully we will still talk and catch up on things. And as Councilmember Salazar said, we didn't always vote the same way, but I will tell you this, that Linda and I, or the Vice Mayor, sorry, and I, there are items that we very much are very strong on. One, tonight I turned to her and I said, I'm going to miss you on this one, because we have some similar beliefs and real convictions, and that's a thing that I've respected immensely, is that I think always open-minded. If there was something that wasn't seen or known the first time, doesn't mean that thoughts can't be modified, but at the same time, if there was what was best in the Vice Mayor's mind, then that's what she kept to, and that's what her allegiance was. And also, I always believe in the word passion, and Linda has the passion and the dedication to the people of this community. And to the Mason family, I will tell you, I hope that you will have more quality time, because between Andy's meetings and Linda's meetings, thank God for some that would step in to help out, it's a lot. It is a lot. And so rushing from San Francisco or zooming from this to that, and then taking on some tasks and working with me on some items, I very much appreciate it. And yes, I think anyone who sits up here will leave things better than they found it, will make a contribution and make a difference along the way, and Linda has done that. So I want to thank you very much, and I look forward to some interesting conversations in the new year. So thank you, Linda, very much. Now I would like to call upon Vice Mayor Linda Mason for comments and remarks.
So thank you. This is the last time you're going to hear from me in a long-winded way without a public comment limit. So I just wanted to say that, 3 years ago I sat here thanking the city of San Bruno for allowing me the opportunity to dream for this wonderful city. And dream I did. I remember being told at the beginning of my term that 3 years is not enough to do anything worthwhile in government, at which I responded to that resident, "You must not work, nor have you ever worked in government." You see, the last 3 years were pivotal to the future of San Bruno. Let's revisit some of these areas. We talked 3 years ago about the need for revenue in San Bruno and how in need our city was of it. In just 3 years, we created and finalized the short-term rental ordinance wherein the city of San Bruno would receive revenue for short-term rentals. We were aware that short-term rentals throughout the city were being rented, but had no way to regulate them. We've negotiated since a $200,000 agreement with Airbnb for these short-term rentals, and more to come. We received $350,000 from Measure K funds. We've negotiated a $3.1 million annual agreement with Walmart. We've negotiated a $1.1 million annual agreement with Artichoke Joe's. We've negotiated a vast $54 million community benefits package with YouTube. We've increased our transient occupancy tax to align with surrounding cities with the vote and support of our taxpayers. We've ensured that development impact fees were kept at the current standard, increasing them as needed. And these are amongst the bigger negotiations that took place, bringing in over $58 million to San Bruno without charging any of our taxpayers an extra cent. I firmly believe this number would be larger had the city agreed to place a commercial transfer tax on the ballot, provided over $500 million of sales have taken place since 2020, hoping this will be revisited in the future and not forgotten. We talked about the need for diversity 3 years ago. Today, we will have filled every seat of every committee in the city of San Bruno, and based on what we are hearing and seeing, our committees and commissions are more diverse than they have ever been, representing what San Bruno looks like today, as well as the range of thinking that has been brought to the table. 3 years ago, we talked about term limits. The voters agreed in November to the tune of over 80% that they too wanted term limits. 3 years ago, we talked about downtown. All of us talked about downtown, but we were also doing something about downtown. The following are completed or in progress. We have our new garbage cans. We've approved trees in the ground. We've approved this, the Centennial Park re-envisioned, has been re-envisioned with a $500,000 contribution from the Community Foundation, and Posey Park re-envisioned with a $200,000 contribution from Measure K funds from Supervisor Pine's office. And so much advocacy has come for our downtown. After identifying downtown as the #1 priority for San Bruno residents, the City Council agreed to ask the Community Foundation to revisit their priorities, wherein downtown was not included as a priority despite the voice of the public. Although the Community Foundation responded eloquently with a no, the Council stood up for the residents of San Bruno in making and supporting the request. It was a proud moment for the Council to stand up and say, this is what the residents wanted, and why aren't we prioritizing our downtown? Shortly thereafter, the Foundation committed $500,000 to Centennial Park improvements, hoping one of more contributions to come to the number of requests of these residents that we serve. The downtown merchants advocated for downtown by uniting to create a community in San Bruno. The last 2 years, our downtown merchants hosted Halloween trick-or-treating events, Santa pictures, and hot chocolate, food drives, and more. What better voice to advocate for downtown than those who have invested their own money and future in our downtown? I could not be prouder of our downtown merchants for stepping up and giving a voice to the needs of the downtown merchants, and it looks like the residents could not have been more responsive, with hundreds flooding the streets to trick-or-treat this past year, and one of our downtown merchants, Mazra, coming up as the second most liked restaurant in the country in last year's Yelp reviews. With so much more to do, we are off to a great start. Utilities. Water increases was one of the biggest complaints I received when going door to door. After decades of water increases, we are now in our second year of no increases of water or sewer rates, thanks to the work of our staff in analyzing whether we should increase the rates when they have not been necessary, and as we saw tonight, won't be necessary next year either. We thoroughly reviewed our garbage rate contracts, and although I ultimately did not agree with the final contract with the belief that certain provisions could have been more favorable to the city of San Bruno, it is not lost on me that had this negotiation not taken place, the residents of San Bruno would have seen a substantial increase in their garbage rates come January 2023. We thoroughly looked at our cable company and are at a place now where tough decisions will need to be made by this council on the future of the cable company, the only municipality in the state of California with its own cable and internet network. As I stated in our last meeting, we need to look to the future and possibilities that arise when we fully invest in ourselves. If you don't water a plant, it's gonna die. Why should we expect anything different from our cable company that has not had any investment in over a decade? I remain #Team SB Cable all the way. Infrastructure. I could not be prouder of our pavement plan that includes a list of pavement projects in progress and coming up. After decades of lack of investment, we are investing over $6 million in the beautification of our streets. The council has been protective of these funds to ensure they are used for their intent, and I look forward to continuing to see this investment take shape through beautiful roads when you enter the city of San Bruno. Parks, Recreation, and the Library. While one of my biggest disappointments on this council was the inability for the city of San Bruno to purchase the El Crystal site, it is also one of the biggest losses to our mutual taxpayers. The ability to use this space to expand our only existing park would have led to hundreds plus years of joy for our residents. While the school district made the decision to stop negotiations, it is important to note that the city of San Bruno still has an MOT yard, and should we be successful one day in moving that MOT yard to another location, it would be wonderful to see and envision a new library in that location. Just saying, because it's listed as being under capacity for the last 2+ decades, and seeing as how this is my last time up here, I just wanted to throw that out. Oh, and by the way, while we were busy moving all of these items forward, a little something called COVID-19 snuck in. In the 4th month of being sworn in, an international pandemic brought the world to a halting stop. As the onset of the pandemic was occurring, I really felt an incredibly deep reflection. You see, anytime I asked anyone in San Bruno why something had not been done or was deferred for so long, the reason that came back to me was the PG&E explosion. The devastating explosion left the city with few resources, maxed out capacity, and no real methods of revenue to come in and help. As the reality of the pandemic was setting in, a picture of the next year was setting in, I did not want the pandemic to be another catastrophe in San Bruno that held us back another 3 years. While I did not share this with anyone at the time, and am sharing now, I was determined to ensure that our city moved forward in every possible way. As we learn to live with the pandemic amongst us, with the safety and precautions for our employees in place. Once a process and protocol was created for council to bring forth initiatives and was streamlined, I took full advantage of it. It was important to the future of our city that the momentum that we had could not be lost. It was easy to get lost in the pandemic and stop all operations. All of the above items were completed in the midst of an international pandemic. All of the above that moved our city forward were done with thought and with love for the future of the city and with service to this community in mind. And while there's so much more that can be shared, I must take a moment now for thank yous. I want to first thank the staff. I know it's been a rough few years with me on the council. I know we have placed a lot before you, and the morale has not always been the best, and that times have been tough and scary to lead through these years. Please know that you are superstars. You have made it through the pandemic while serving our community. You have made so many of the items I just mentioned a reality while serving through a scary pandemic, especially pre-vaccinations, and I look forward to seeing so much more to come from this team in the next 1 to 2 years, especially as we open the Recreation Aquatic Center, we continue to reimagine what Tanforan will look like, and we continue to enhance our police and fire departments. Thank you. We are proud of the work that has been accomplished and of the salary increases that were negotiated across the board and amongst the highest San Bruno staff has seen in over a decade. Well-deserved thank yous all around to our staff. Thank you to the City Council who has sat through hours and hours of my questioning, probably wondering when I was going to end or what my point was, but often assisting me to cross the finish line once you figured out what my line of questions were getting at. We very often did not agree on all things, but more often than not got to a yes together. I wish the best to incoming council member Sandy Alvarez, who will take my seat as the only female on the council. And I just want to say to Sandy that Rollingwood hopefully will be thrilled to have you as their representative, and that my phone is always available, and hopefully we can get together soon. But please call me if you need anything at all. Congratulations, Sandy. I wanted to also have a very special thank you to Councilmember Marty Medina. Having come off of a very controversial election in 2019, Marty welcomed me and was, by default, my onboarder on the council. Our conversations, friendly arguments, and real arguments are appreciated beyond measure. Thank you to my parents, whose support of my council position has been unwavering. The past 3 years have been quite a challenge for my husband and I, not being able to rely on my parents for childcare, especially at the onset of the pandemic. Both essential workers and both on elected bodies, we were quote unquote on at all times throughout the pandemic. When one was at work, the other was at home and caring for our youngest son, while watching our older son who was getting used to remote learning. If anything could be more trying on a marriage, it was the year of the pandemic. Nobody wished to be on a school board, much less the president of the school board at a time when schools were closed. To give the public an idea, the City Council alone had approximately 50 meetings in 2020, approximately 65 in 2021, and almost 90 meetings in 2022. With that said, thank you for stepping up so I could be an essential worker at work and then a council member at night. Thank you for contributing to our community as a school board member, championing dual immersion programs that we will finally see come to fruition. Thank you for ensuring our public schools that are home to over 2,000 of our San Bruno kids reopen safely for our students and teachers, and thank you for caring so much about the environment that you initiated a heritage tree policy that I heard so much about, so that generations of students to come can enjoy trees in San Bruno. In a conversation regarding a very high-stakes issue here in San Bruno, which was incredibly tense, I remember a person saying to me, "Linda, do you ever compromise on anything?" And my response was, "I'm still married, aren't I?" To my husband, who I compromise with daily, thank you for letting me pursue my passions and joys alongside yours. To our kids, Fabian and Gabriel, I look forward to being home more often, and thank you for being so giving of my time. I love you more than words can say, and hope you both get to enjoy the fruits of the seeds we have planted with your friends in your teenage years in the near future. Lastly, to the public, I ran upon a request of the public. My campaign was a grassroots campaign led by residents. As a public servant, I never forgot who I served. It was not the small but vocal minority. It was not the small but behind closed doors vocal minority. It was everyone in the city. Every decision was a balance of needs versus wants. Every decision was future versus present. Every decision was service-led, and if it was not the best we could do, it was not going to move forward with a vote from me. In a recent conference I attended, the keynote speaker talked about being our best selves. He compared government workers to becoming virtuosos, who is a person highly skilled in music, and he challenged workers not to be complacent or comfortable in government jobs or positions, but to be the greatest we can be. I think we have a great city, and while it has taken some time to dust it off, with the right investment, decision-making, and risk-taking, the city of San Bruno will be the beating heart of the peninsula. I look forward to that day, and thank you all for putting your trust in me to assist in shepherding the city through the last 3 years and pivoting it for monumental success. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor, for your words and thoughts. Okay, so appreciate everybody being here and the comments. And now this is an action item, which is to adopt the resolution. Any action from council?
A motion to adopt the resolution.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Linda Mason, seconded by Hamilton. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Hamilton,
Aye.
Councilmember Marty Medina,
Aye.
Councilmember Salazar,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Mason,
Aye.
Mayor Rico Medina.
Aye. Passes 5-0. With that, we'll move on to item E.
Item 7E, administer oath of office to newly elected Councilmember Sandy Alvarez, District 1, re-elected Councilmember Marty P. Medina, District 4, and re-elected Mayor Rico E. Medina at large.
Normally, we would each go down one by one and have the oath. We spoke to one another. No, we didn't violate the Brown Act. And what we would like to do, even though we are in district elections, we are truly still one council that represents this city and has everybody's best interest at heart and in their mind. So we are going to take the oath together, side by side, at this time. So I'd ask Sandy Alvarez to please step to the podium. Marty Medina, Councilmember Medina, would join me down at the podium with Sandy Alvarez.
If you could just line up so the mic catches.
Sandy, come over here. You want to come in the middle, or? You know what I was going to say. Okay. This would be your photograph opportunity, so this is going to be done once. So.
You could all raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name, do solemnly swear
I, Marty
Sandy
Medina,
Alvarez,
solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same,
to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will,
well and faithfully
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Sign?
We have to make sure we sign the right one.
Let's see. So let's start with Sandy.
Sandy?
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. If you would join us on the dais, please.
Okay.
Councilmember Sandy Alvarez. Oh, Carol, wait for me. Please be seated. With that said, the new council assembled. We'll go ahead and see if there are comments at this time, and we will start first with our newest council member, Sandy Alvarez.
Good evening, San Bruno residents, guests, and staff. Thank you for joining us tonight to witness the swearing of your new council members. No one arrives at a moment like this without the help and support of a great many people. Please indulge me while I take some time to acknowledge and thank them. To our former Mayor Larry Franzella and Jim Rowain, former council member Laura Davis, thank you for the encouragement and guidance you provided me throughout my campaign. Your amazing work and dedication to our community is remarkable. I hope to follow your footsteps. Thank you to my committee members and volunteers who knocked on doors, countless doors, waved signs, distributed postcards, and believed in the mission throughout my campaign. My family and friends who are always ready to help every time I call on them. My son, Jonathan, thank you for becoming more responsible in life. I am very proud of you, all of your accomplishment. You make me very proud. My brothers, Sonny and Steve, my sister, Jennifer, Jocelyn, and Joey, my nephews, Lance and Jeremiah, my nieces, Michelle, Evelyn, Kim, and Ariana, my grandson, Cameron James, to my good friends, John, Bing, Tony, Daniel, Raul, Jess, and Jeannie, Jamie, Fernando, and Lee. My best friends, Jim and Cynthia, for over 30 years. Thank you both for your unconditional support. Somehow they made me think that I have superpowers, so I'm here right now. Thank you all for your hard work and dedication from day one until the last day of my campaign. I will not be here if it weren't for your help. I love you all. Thank you, Bob Marshall and Ann Oliva. I appreciate the continued business you bring to our city. I see your dedication to make our city a better place to live. Thank you for your support and guidance throughout my campaign. Former San Bruno Park School Board trustee and newly appointed San Mateo Union High School District Board trustee, Terry Chavez, congratulations on your election. Thank you for flagging your friends and your neighbors to vote for me. I look forward to collaborating with you in the near future in the areas of your expertise and other resources. San Bruno District 1 residents who voted for me, I thank you all for giving me the privilege to serve as your council member. I am honored to have this opportunity to be serving the city I love. I will continue to be your strong voice throughout my 4-year term. I also like to take this opportunity to congratulate re-elect Mayor Rico Medina. Your work and dedication is above and beyond the call of your duty as a mayor. Thank you for your hard work. Congratulations to re-elect Council Member Marty Medina. Thank you for all your community services, volunteering, and coaching. To Vice Mayor Linda Mason, who will be parting us, thank you for your service and your hard work and dedication to our city. You will surely be missed. My special thanks to Councilmember Salazar for the guidance and dedicated time coaching me on different campaign approach. Your knowledge and expertise have made a big contribution to the success of my campaign. Thank you. Last but not least, thank you so much to all my contributors. Your contribution to my campaign made it possible for me to show my constituents what I am all about and what I can contribute to our community. I think we are heading to a new direction, and I am ready to do great things. To my fellow council members, I look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your words. And now we will go to newly elected or re-elected, you're not new, council member with this good last name, Marty Medina.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here tonight. I am humbled, honored, and grateful to serve on the San Bruno City Council representing District 4. City Council candidates Jeremy Sarnecki, John Strazzarino, Jeffrey Tong, and R.S. Harmon, thank you for your willingness to serve. Congratulations to District 1 City Council member Sandy Alvarez and re-elected Mayor Rico Medina. I look forward to working with you and council members Tom Hamilton and Michael Salazar. I know nothing gets done by working alone. It is only by working together with staff that anything significant can be achieved. I want to express my sincere appreciation to my campaign workers. Russell Steins, a tireless walker who has been with me for so many miles across San Bruno. Thank you, brother. Tom Hamilton, Marco Durazo, Adriana Shea, Yolanda Suarez, Ryan Mersney, Daniel Lee, thank you very much. To the District 4 voters, I sincerely appreciate your trust to represent you. I remain committed to achieving fiscal sustainability, revitalizing downtown, improving our quality of life, and building affordable housing. In the 3 times I walked our district, I heard your concerns. I will lead the effort to install speed bumps, improve our safety at intersections, lighten up dark streets, and streamline the residential parking permit program. As I enter my 8th year on the council, I am proud of our accomplishments, and I'm highly optimistic for our future. This past year has been incredibly busy, and much more work remains ahead. Despite predicted doom in San Bruno development, numerous projects have been approved, and many others are moving ahead, including YouTube's expansion, housing is planned at Crestmore and Ingval, and Tanfran's transformation includes 1,000 units of housing. I've said this before, development is a major piece of our financial sustainability. However, we must balance responsible development with minimized impacts to our community's quality of life. We have seen the city receiving the first significant payment in development impact fees from YouTube of $54.5 million. I look forward to the public discussions on where that money will be spent. Tonight, my sister Lupe, brother Jesse, nephew Anthony, brother-in-law Marco, and my father, Gilbert Medina, are in the audience. Dad.
Yes, sir.
Thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything. Tonight, I'm going to share a few things that we have talked about over the years, and the first one being the importance of or on the city council. You and Mom have also shown me by your example a strong, dedicated work ethic, the nobility in trying to make things better, and the reverence in serving others. Dad, tonight, in front of you and my community, I pledge to do my best the Medina way. And last but not least, Jeanette and Max, thank you for your patience, love, and understanding. I will miss some family, an incredibly special place for us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. Say it's a work evening, and due to the length of the meeting and the business that we had, I did want to say is something that not all public realize, because there's special meetings, there's closed sessions. I want to thank that council and you, Vice Mayor, for that dedication and devotion. For it is unprecedented times, not only dealing with COVID, but it also was unprecedented times accomplished. I do want to thank and congratulate council members Marty Medina and council member Sandy Alvarez on your election and being up here, and together let us go forth and work together, and I appreciate us taking the oath together as an indication that we may be in districts for a community. It is for making decisions for the future of San Bruno. I also want to thank the staff. It has been a challenging time, not only all the meetings, but the COVID, and everything else that comes up on a day-to-day basis when you get a call from the city manager says, I need to update you on something. Those are things that are unpredictable, and some of us up here have been former staff members and realize at times there's not always what you've done well, but it's always about what could be done better or what somebody wasn't happy with. So let's hope 2023 brings us better times when it comes to all of those elements. Terry Jackson, who had told me to breathe. I was nervous, so it's okay. So this is a Christmas tie that she gave me because I didn't have one, and I pulled it out to wear it tonight in honor of her, what she gave to the city, as well as the comfort that she offered at that point as a staff person. So I offer that to all of my colleagues and the staff to the best of our abilities to try to make this a good and smooth operation and streamlining and making us effective, efficient, and trying to get a work-life balance. With that said, I'm going to end it there, and I'm going to say, on behalf of myself, thank you, San Bruno, and wish you and your families a happy, healthy, safe, and blessed holiday season, and New Year. Now we're going to adjourn the agenda. So thank you very much, and that's it for my comments. So with that, I figure 2023 you'll hear from me a lot more, so I'll save all of this for then. Now we're going to move on to item F, and that is confirm appointment of vice mayor to serve a one-year term. So we have a system in our city, which I'm glad we have, which is we know who the mayor is and we know who the vice mayor is going to be. And so I'm going to ask a question to somebody to my left, your right. Councilmember Hamilton, are you willing to serve as the next vice mayor?
Yes, I am.
So with that, we will confirm that Tom Hamilton, as of now, and for the year of 2023, is now the vice mayor of the city of San Bruno. Congratulations. Vice Mayor. And Vice Mayor Hamilton said he wanted to have a couple statements.
I will keep it very brief because I know we took office in 2021, and I look forward to moving the ball forward and getting a lot more done. I know that we've been talking about how many meetings there are, and we hope that that's going to tail off in 2023. I have a sinking feeling that it will not, because there's still so much more to do here in San Bruno. That doesn't mean that we can't be thankful for everything we have accomplished, but there's a lot more to do, and we're here to do it. So I am proud to serve as your vice mayor for the next year. Thank you.
Now we'll move on to, thank you, Tom, Vice Mayor. Now we'll move on to comments from council members. Are there any members of the council that wish to make a comment? Come on.
Really
No,
short,
it's okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Medina.
Because there is no council meeting in 2 weeks, just for those that need some groceries at Bel Air, we will have a second harvest distribution on December 28th. So share that with your friends and those of need, or if you want to come down and volunteer, the 28th from 1:45 to 4 o'clock. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other comments? I'm going to, I'm sorry, did you? I said no. Okay. I'm going to end on something that I had an opportunity last month to do, which is kind of one of the most unique things when somebody reaches out to the mayor and goes ahead and says, a relative usually, can you please come and visit or be a part of the celebration of somebody in San Bruno's 100th birthday? That is amazing. And I had, on the photo you can see Mr. Peterson, who on this day last month turned 100. Yes, that is him. And we were able to sit and talk. He moved here in 1970 with his wife, June. A year and a half ago, presented her with a 100th year birthday proclamation as well. So I don't know if it's the first time in history that you've had in one household 2 people that turned 100, and the mayor got to be a part of it. We sat and we talked about San Bruno then, San Bruno now, and what he thinks about the future. And yes, he had opinions about Tanforan and about what he thought. It was a great conversation. Unfortunately, his wife had passed this year, but he is as optimistic and as agile. And I will tell you, that's one thing that I would encourage anybody, if you have that opportunity, to talk to folks that really have that perspective, who served in World War II and has the history that they've known it as they've watched it. It is amazing. It is inspiring. And it was a blessing for me to be able to be a part of that. So I wanted to recognize and honor Mr. Peterson for his 100th birthday and allowing me to be a part of that. So that's just to acknowledge him. And with that, unless there's nothing else, to the staff, to the residents, to the community, to the council, happy holidays. Be safe. What? Happy holidays. And we will adjourn this meeting to the next regular city council meeting, which will be held on January 10th, 2023.